Thank you.
You're welcome, Kate. I'm glad I remembered how to hit the record button because it has been, when was our last show? Like mid-August?
October?
No, it was August, I think.
Oh.
Yeah, you can see Kate is now broadcasting from a bunker with her dancing pole behind her. So.
Yeah, got a house. Yeah, this is the first one since I bought a house. And that was in September.
We've got a cameo of one of my children here. The other one is just off of camera. So, we made an announcement in the fall that we were going to be scaling back on the show, but we promised as part of it, we're going to be doing the 10 minutes with show. This number one is promoting our partners is the most important thing to us. So, we're going to continue to do that. But the other things that we were doing, we just got in a little too deep, and we've got some other things we want to do this year with content and tutorials and just helping. We've got a lot of great quantity now, and we want to help now focusing on the quality aspect of it. That not only us, but being able to provide what we know to who we work with and make that better. So I've got a full house here today. If you're not watching on video, I've got two children.
Yeah, you got a dog,
two dogs.
Daughter.
There's another dog there too that's out cold. So that being said, we're going to bring in our first guest of 2022. So our guest today come to us from, I believe, opposite sides of the country, if my notes are correct.
There were notes?
Yeah. Yes, Kate, there are notes. Just because you don't read them doesn't mean there aren't notes.
New year, nothing changed.
Kate's New Year's resolution is to not read the show notes and not be prepared as usual. So our co-hosts of the Winning Losers podcast, please welcome Drew and Sean. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
How's it going?
So if I remember right, so Drew, you're in Nashville, you said?
No, I'm in Boston. He's in Nashville.
Sean's in Nashville. Sorry.
He just told us that before we recorded. Even I know
you know
that.
What? No caffeine this morning. I'm trying to scale back the caffeine this year. We're on January, what is today? Second, and I'm already screwing this up. Wow. We're leaving this in because we don't edit here. We don't cut out the mistakes. We leave keep it completely authentic. So now that I'm off to an awesome start, let's get started with our first question, as we always ask. So how did the two of you meet, and why'd you start a podcast together?
We were friends in college. Actually, even though we went to different colleges, my next door neighbor freshman year transferred schools and became his roommate. So his school was like just down the street. So I was there like probably 4 times a week. And
that was back in 2012.
Yeah, we graduated 2012. Yeah.
So we met, I guess, in like 2010, 2011.
Yeah.
I don't feel so old today. We've had guests. We've had a couple of guests come on the show. They're like, yeah, I was born in 2000. I'm like, I was finishing high school. So that makes me feel pretty good. Care to name drop your schools?
My school, most people have never heard of. It's now Jefferson University. When I was there, it was Philadelphia University.
Okay.
And I went to St. Joe's, St. Joe's Hawk. So
St. Joe's, who comes in, they make appearances in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, like once every 4 or 5 years. It's been going downhill though, so
it's one of those where it's like, hey, St. Joe's, maybe they'll be one of those upset Cinderellas this time around. That's kind of how I remember them.
Yeah,
I don't remember them.
Well, I mean, you went to
a school with an undefeated football team
because the record is 0-0.
Yeah, because we don't have one.
You don't have a field. You don't have players. You don't have pads.
We have a hockey team though.
And
Milwaukee School of Engineering.
And yeah, I actually almost
went there. It was in Wisconsin.
I actually almost went there. I got into that. I applied and got into that school, but it was too expensive.
And I did the same thing about Purdue.
Well, I lived in Indiana. You didn't, so.
Yep.
Anyway, so you guys met through essentially college mutual friends. So where did the podcast come from?
Well, I ended up going back to school. It's not what I originally was in school for, but I went back and did like Connecticut School of Broadcasting, which is just like a general radio and TV education. I wasn't really doing anything. He does stand-up comedy, so I talked to him like around the start of the pandemic because he couldn't do any comedy, and I was like, "Hey, do you want to do something together?"
Well, and we were texting about sports anyway, so
yeah.
Then through a comedian friend referred me to Anchor. He's like, "You don't need to buy anything, or you just need your phone."
You certainly do not.
Anchor, and just get started that way. So I was like, "Well, it's convenient. We're sitting around not doing anything since it was March of 2020 when the world shut down." So then we're like, well, we might as well give it a shot and see. I mean, people are sitting around not doing anything. Maybe they'll listen to our content. So
longest 2 weeks ever.
Mm-hmm. I did notice that I saw the first episode came in around March 30th of 2020. I'm like, another pandemic podcast. But unlike most of them, you guys have kept it going, which is awesome.
Right. Yeah, we have a fun time doing it. Even if it wasn't getting a lot of listeners, we were just like, yeah, we just talk about sports.
So, speaking of listeners, what should a new listener expect?
Well, a lot of sports talk, we kind of try to divide. Our name is Winning Losers, so we try to divide it up into like who won the week in sports and who lost the week in sports, and then we also try to highlight like the career of one failed coach, athlete, GM, whoever it is, every week. This week we're doing Reuben Foster. Since he's from a University of Alabama, they're in the championship game. So, and then
I did see you went after Urban Meyer recently, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
That was embarrassing.
Yes,
yeah, we really went after him, but he gave us a lot of content to talk about.
I mean, his was probably the most publicly embarrassing tenure of a successful college coach going to the NFL. But I mean, you look at it, you look at like Steve Spurrier, his experience in the NFL wasn't great. You look at, Nick Saban walking out on the Miami Dolphins, just days after, I will not be the Alabama coach. Yeah, bull. Yeah. And then, then my personal favorite is, Bobby Petrino quitting on the Falcons, like 9 games into his first season and not even facing the team, just leaving a letter and then like walking out the door.
Yeah, we did him last week, actually. We did him last week because it was like a competition. Who's worse, him or Urban Meyer?
It's just these college guys, they always seem to find a way to like one up each other. I mean, it's just like, okay, no one's going to get worse than Bobby Petrino. Wrong. Here's Urban Meyer. Like,
yeah. And now there's Matt Rule, the Panthers owner this week, said he was embarrassed by hiring him.
That's never a good vote of confidence when you're, the owner of your team is saying you're embarrassing. So that's wouldn't want to be in his shoes right now. That's for sure.
Pete Carroll is the only successful college and NFL coach that I can think of off the top of my head. I believe Jimmy Johnson.
There are three college coaches. Here's a little bit of trivia for you. 3 college coaches that have won both a college national title and a Super Bowl. Can you name them? You've named 2 of them already, but can you name the third?
So Pete Carroll and Jimmy Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
John Madden.
No, John Madden was not a college coach. Not a Division I college coach, I should say.
Yeah, I'm blanking. Drew, do you have any ideas?
No, Barry Switzer. Maybe?
It is Barry Switzer. You are absolutely
correct.
Yeah. So Barry Switzer walked in there with Jimmy Johnson's team and snuck that 3rd Cowboy Super Bowl in the 90s. So
yeah, I thought Jimmy Johnson was race cars.
That's spelled differently, but yes.
Oh, okay.
But yes, those 3 are the only 3 that have ever won a Division I college national title and a Super Bowl, which is pretty. I mean, it's you're more likely to end up like Bobby Petrino or Urban Meyer than you are, Jimmy Johnson or Pete Carroll. But even Pete Carroll's starting to wear out his welcome in Seattle. That's
yeah.
That's I just the culture of coaching is always like in the last several years, it's always like baffled me. That's, it's like, okay, that some of these guys are not going to work out, but there's just so much money and public pressure on the line to like win now or you're out. And it's just like, you just keep going through coaches and coaches. And it's just like, you wonder why the Jacksonville Jaguars cannot compete. Like they had that one season a couple of years ago where they ran to I think it was the AFC finals.
Yeah.
But otherwise it's like they've been just garbage for a decade because they just keep going through coaches and just embarrassing.
Yeah.
Well, Washington thinks the same way. So I'm originally from DC, so I followed that disaster.
Yeah.
I started watching football. It's like every 4 years there's a new coach and new quarterback and no really supporting pieces, and they go 4-12 each year.
And then you start to build just a little momentum and then gone.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what? We've already deviated a little bit. I want to further deviate real quick.
What?
Yeah,
Never.
So Sean, you said you do stand-up comedy, and
Yeah.
I love stand-up comedy. I would love to do stand-up comedy. I just don't have the timing and or the nerve.
Humor.
Thank you. That too. I'm not funny enough to, but do you perform in clubs? Like, do you go on into like, Nashville and perform? How does that work for you? Like, how did you get yourself started into that?
How much time do we have?
Give us the cliff notes.
We call the show 10 minutes with, and our record I think is like 32 minutes. So just to
Yeah, I got rid of the record board.
Where is it? Did you lose it in the move?
I got erased during the move.
Oh. Well, we'll have to find an episode and remake it at some point. But yeah, 32 minutes is our record for a 10 minutes with.
But no, I'll give you the clip notes. So I started way back in high school. I just wanted a new challenge, and I thought I was funny, and I've always liked writing. So I was like, well, I'll figure this out. And it just, so I didn't start going open mic nights until like one summer, and then I went off to college. So I did like one open mic night that first summer in 2018. Went to college in the second summer in 2019. I really started going to open mic nights like consistently. I was like, oh, this is what stand-up comedy, like it's a grind where you're just writing and bombing and then just figuring out what your voice is and what jokes work for you and how to do crowd work and how to read the crowd and things like that. So that's how I was like continuing it for my 4 years at St. Joe's. I only did it like over the summer really. And then I've been inconsistent about it, which is why I haven't gone anywhere, but I've been continuing to just try and write and do open mic nights. And I try to do 3 or 4 open mic nights a week here in Nashville.
Oh, wow.
So there's one comedy club that has an open mic night, and then the rest are just bars. Some bars are nicer than others. And then you sit around for 2 hours to get your 4 or 5 minutes, and then just I do my set, and then I keep what works and then forget about the jokes that don't work. I mean, it is just like a sport. You're just constantly refining and developing different skills to just become better at it.
So why is it called stand-up comedy? Like, is it a requirement to stand while performing?
No, but I know I've sat down once or twice. Actually, I distinctly remember a show at St.
Now sit down comedy?
And it definitely didn't help with my stage presence or winning over the crowd. It was
well, yeah, you gotta have your power pose going.
Yeah. I mean, I usually just stand there. Like other comedians, like will walk around, especially if you see them on Netflix or something like that, where they're like working at theater or something, and they're just all over the stage. I just kind of stand in one spot and talk for 4 minutes.
Can't do that in normal circumstances. Like,
yeah, I don't stand still.
Like when I have meetings at work and then I'm not on video, I'm just pacing back and forth I'm wearing out the carpet behind me just because I pace around so much. I cannot stand or sit still.
My first professional presentation, I'm pretty sure I walked around So
So my all-time favorite like stand-up story is, Larry David, notorious, like, everyone knows Larry David now, but when Larry David was getting started, he would perform in New York at these dumpy comedy clubs, and the comedians loved him, but the audiences just hated him. And he would go out on stage and he'd look at the crowd. He's just like, nah, like, not feeling it, or you're not going to get my joke. And he'd just like walk off stage and just leave. And, the comedians off stage and the staff are just dying laughing. And the audience is like, okay, that was interesting. But man, do you remember, I guess, like the first time you bombed, like what that felt like?
you can tell him you never bombed.
Oh, he already said he bombed. No, he admitted it.
It all runs together, but the worst one, back to St. Joe's, was, and this is pretty ambitious of me, I did the Black Student Union talent show. And so that was the only white performer in it. And I did 3 minutes of jokes that did not work. And then the guy that hosted it actually performed on Comedy Central and things like that. So his he's actually got a career. But no, that was definitely the most distinctive, where I was like,
little out of your element there.
So,
oh, have you ever been actively heckled or booed? Like, have you had that experience?
I usually I have no energy on stage. This is my this is how I talk on stage. So
the deadpan comic.
It's just the hardest part for me is restraining them. Like if you let them talk too much, then it opens up the room and everybody just thinks that they can have side conversations. So learning how to make that conversation funny but still be in control of the room has been difficult to learn. Like there's so much more to stand up than I think people really realize, especially when they see it on TV, because that's like, well, that's all stage and you're not going to see hecklers on TV, or if people are too drunk, they'll kick them out of the Netflix special. So it's very, it's a lot more unpredictable at a comedy club or dive bar or something.
And there are some comedians too who are just so good at dealing with hecklers. Kate and I actually the other day were talking about Jimmy Carr. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him, the British comedian. Yeah, he is probably the best at dealing with hecklers because he's so like eloquent about it, but he just will rip you to your face that it just, you'll cut to the person in the crowd and they're just kind of like, I regret doing that now. And but he's just so very, proper and eloquent about ripping the person. And it's just a work of art. It's amazing. He's got a Netflix special now, I think is what you said, Kate. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what I was watching. So I'm going to transition us to question number 3, but we're going to do a little bit different than normal.
Oh.
What's a piece of advice you have for someone finding their voice?
That's
I think just to be true to your personality.
I was about to say, just be authentic and don't try to
force it.
Be somebody else's idea of what you should be or what you think people want to hear. Nice
advice. I like it.
It is good advice. I mean, Kate will periodically, I haven't received one yet that I'm aware of. Nope, not today, but I will periodically, we'll be recording this this call, and all of a sudden my phone will pop up with a text from Kate saying, "Shut up, you're rambling."
No, I'm texting your wife to tell her to kick your chair. She's popped out a couple times, so I figured out she's there.
I haven't. No, she's not here.
Oh,
I don't know where everyone else is in this room except for her. I don't know where she's hiding. She's camera
been
shy.
There.
She has? I haven't seen her.
Yeah.
She's definitely camera shy. Like, well, sometimes she'll sit in on these interviews and she'll sit like over here. And I have a splitter, so she's listening in on the conversation. But like, if I try to like turn the camera to get her on there, doing one of these things. So
When you edit, you'll see her.
Edit, what's that?
I mean, when you review.
On that note, I haven't actually been keeping track of the time, so I don't know how close we are to our record. We've been going on for a little while. I don't even know what time. I don't even know what time we started today. But so final question: where do we find your show? Where do we find your social media?
Well, we're on Anchor and Spotify, Winning Losers on both those platforms, and then Winning Losers
iTunes
on
too.
Awkward silence.
I think
I
it
knew
was
it said
Apple iTunes as well. Is I think what I heard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought
With my dog chiming in too.
I always love to hear from other voices.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Too
Mine has run away.
Oh, he will sometimes make appearances on our podcast.
Wow. I accidentally unplugged my I was trying to turn to show you my dogs, and I actually unplugged my headset and my microphone.
Bravo.
Yes, but the two laziest dogs in the world are sleeping behind me and have not moved. So anyway,
I thought that was a blanket or something on you.
no, that is a lazy sleeping dog back there.
Oh.
I thought that was your daughter.
Yeah, well, on the floor, but on the couch, that's the lazy dog.
He's got one leg there.
Hey, one just lifted his up. No, I was about to say one lifted his head off the pillow, but he went right back to sleep. So
It takes right after his dad.
must be nice.
Yeah.
No, it's I don't sleep anymore. I went to bed at 2:30 this morning, so that's my life. Anyway, on that
Where
note,
can we find us? That's when you're supposed to jump in.
oh yeah, so Sean,
Oh, my dog is here.
oh yeah,
Wait, I wasn't sure if that was a question for us or for DJ.
That's for DJ.
theme of the episode is lazy dogs. So
Yeah.
on that note, so Sean, Drew, thank you for coming on the show today and talking to us about a variety of topics, including stand-up comedy. That's definitely a first for us. So the show is Winning Losers. Thank you again for joining us.
Yeah. Thank you for having us on.
Thanks.
So be sure to check us out at stadiumscene.tv, at Stadium Scene on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, TikTok, Twitch. We'll be using that this year. It's YouTube, and Stadium_Scene on Instagram, which I'm still fighting to get the Stadium Scene handle from a account that hasn't posted since 2015. We'll be recording shows periodically throughout the year, so be sure to check us out, check out the partners on the network, join us, and we will see you next time, whenever that may be.
Thank you.
Thank you.